35 years, the Herald Citizens of the Year Awards, in collaboration with Nelson Mandela University, have been awarding ordinary people for extraordinary work that they've been doing in their communities. My name is Faith, and today we're sitting in conversation with Ms. Vuyo Bongela and Mr. Andrew Muir. Thank you so much for joining us. All right, just to get us started, for people who don't know what the Nelson Mandela Citizens of the Year Awards are, can you just give us a brief explanation?
Good. Well, thank you, Faith, and good to be here and to be talking with you and with a fellow judge as well. The Citizen of the Year really recognises the local hero, the person on the ground who have been unselfishly working to help others in their community, in their metro, in their region. Around the world, it's important that we recognize and begin at the local level. Often award programs don't pay enough attention to what's happening locally. And, you know, the whole purpose of sustainability and development is to act locally and think globally. And what I really like about the Herald Citizens of the Year Award, it recognizes that within its readership and within its reach, it can actually influence and help give voice to, amplify work that's happening on the ground that needs recognition and very often goes ignored. And that's what this award program achieves. Okay.
And so with these awards, there's quite a few categories, 11 categories that range from lifestyle to health to sport. What is the importance of these nominations, and what is it that you're hoping to find through these nominations?
Thanks, Faith. I think just to add on to, in response to you, I'll add on to what Andrew has just alluded to. We're hoping to find that person who is doing what they would be doing naturally because they've recognized a gap in their community and there have been, something has spurred in them to respond. They are unsung. They are doing it without recognition. They are doing it because they have recognized something in themselves. And largely, they recognize that for themselves to be well and to survive, someone else has to survive as well. So they are going about their business either, and largely we've seen previously that it's often people who've had their own adversities in their lives, but not looking internally, but to say, let me rather give a hand up, rather than a hand out. So those are the kind of things that we look for when we go through the nominees.
Andrew, you've been part of this program for the last 15 years. And just to echo what Ms. Bongela has just mentioned, these awards award people who are doing things in their communities that they've already been doing. What have you seen over the last 15 years in these awards that have not only kept you coming back every year, but also just makes these awards so much more important?
What really inspires me is that this particular award program, because it really focuses, as was said now, on the unsung hero and work that's happening locally, it gives one hope. And in our world and our society, particularly at this time, one thing we really do need is hope. And our city, Nelson Mandela Bay, the sort of greater region that we are talking about having impact on with this award, it's a region that's very depressed, challenging from a socio-economic point of view, challenging developmentally, jobs. These are pressing hard on livelihood. Livelihood issues are more up now than they've ever been in modern history in this region. People are living with high anxiety, and what we need more than anything else is to know that there both are pathways and there is also hope. And there's nothing that gives community greater inspiration than those individual stories that are locally born, that come from people that you know every day, that you see every day. And that kind of peer mentorship also can uplift a community, and that's what gives me inspiration. That's what I've seen, particularly as we've evolved this program over the last 15 years to be even more locally based. And I think the reason why we have these different categories, it just helps to spread impact and helps to give people making the nominations more focus to individuals that they may not normally think of, but when they think of sport or they think of education or they think of environment, then they suddenly remember a neighbor or someone that is doing something that they believe is having an impact, and we as judges now need to look at it, evaluate it, and so that's what I like about it.
Speaking of, all these the different aspects of the nominations, for someone who wants to nominate someone, what are some of the key things that they should look out for when they're thinking of, like, okay, I want to nominate someone? What do you want to say to them?
So there's the general, I am doing something in my community for the next person, which I think for me is asks of us as a human being. I see my neighbor struggling and I assist. I think we should not say that should be nominated. That's being neighborly. Yes. But if you see that the scale of the impact is broad, there's a breadth of reach, the depth of the impact. So, what is the extent of the meaningful change that the act is doing? So, there's evidence, real outcomes, there's testimonials, and there's measurable results. And how effective is the initiative, in addressing a genuine community need? And I mean, I must say, we will get somebody like, I'm nominating my aunt who's a nurse who's helping, the neighbor. I would think that's what nurses should do, retired or not, But obviously, there needs to be evidence that it's happened in the last 12 months, because that's what we do each year. We look at the previous 12 months, whether the initiative has structures or systems in place to continue. There's something about heart, because often people who do something from the heart, they don't think it can be scalable, or they don't think it could actually turn into a business. I mean, if you look at social entrepreneurships, that's how they're born, in our communities. And obviously potential for growth and continued benefit over time. So as much as you see there's a Danny next to you who's feeding people who are in need or who's buying extra groceries, it's lovely, but if you can take what we do from this angle and maybe in your local community celebrate that person, but scalability is also important, impact is important, the depth is important, and obviously the sustainability of it over time. Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else that Ms. Bongela hasn't mentioned that is important as well to the judging criteria?
This award started 35 years ago, and the first person who was honoured was Sister Ethel, and really she becomes that iconic example to our entire community of what true acts of genuine empowerment look like on the ground, and I think her legacy lives on. So we do as judges have the right to look at lifetime achievement awards. Those we don't do every year. We would, from time to time, if there's a personality or individual living in our community, and we're looking at cumulative impact. But to the point, for this award, we look at impact over the last year, and that's what the categories are all about. And what often happens is we just encourage citizens that are making nominations, please look at the last year, because what often happens is people will go into periods before the year, and we can't, to be fair on everyone else, we can only judge in the last 12-month period. So that is important for what we're asking under the categories. As I said, as judges, we do reserve the right to look at a life impact award, but that is not, we don't do that every year. I think also my other main point would be that it is something that we also want to measure impact that is not, when we talk about scalability, it doesn't necessarily mean that what you're doing has to be able to grow and become huge, but that it can be scalable by others. So that impact is impact that could be taken up in other suburbs or other towns, that kind of ideal or idea. And we have seen that happen as a result of this award. And that, to us, is how you also achieve scale.
And just to close it off, so this is the Herald Citizen of the Year award, but it is in partnership with Nelson Mandela University. Can you just touch on what that partnership means?
So universities have a responsibility of producing graduates, but we produce graduates, firstly, who come from communities, who return to communities. So what we often ask ourselves as universities, in fact, my university, is what kind of a citizen are we impacting, right? You come in, we transfer knowledge, but with that knowledge, you need to live in a community, right? So the partnership with the Herald in this initiative is because we posture ourselves at being in service to society. Our slogan is for tomorrow. So how do we impact the graduate to go and live in a community with definitely this kind of thinking, this kind of narrative, this kind of articulation, right? So as universities, obviously one of our pillars is engagement, community engagement. But we understand that there is a possibility that we can walk into a community with a little bit of arrogance because we've got the knowledge. But what we've learned, and we're trying to change the narrative, is what can we also learn from these communities? So that's what this partnership is about. How do we impact ourselves? Do we learn from communities ourselves? And obviously with what we have as well, how do we partner with organizations like the Herald to be able to see the impact that we want to see? Because we have a responsibility. Our students come from community, our staff comes from community, but we're also part of the community. So that's what it means to us.
Thank you so much for your time. We've learned so much about the nominations and the awards as a whole, and we hope that you get all the nominations that you need for this year.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Keep them coming. The nominations close on the 29th of June. So we're hoping to get some more.
Keep them.
Thank you.
Thank you.